Hey there guys, this is Slamzeron, aka YouTube's Tasuke. I wanted to revisit this topic again, the more games to play um, after playing Champions of Norrath or while waiting for Champions of Norrath 3, whatever I end up calling it. Because, for one thing, there were a couple of games that had been out, or at least were coming out, that I didn't mention, that I've had a chance to kind of experience a little bit. And also, the genre seems to be making a slight comeback. I say slight just because of what I'm sort of looking for. Plus, the Champions of Norrath 3 videos are like my most popular videos, so I figured why not talk about it again. That and Saint Seiya and Tales seem to be like the big three things that people like. So, you know, figured I'd go ahead and talk about a few more games people might be looking for. Because I feel like I'm coming at this from the perspective of, this is going to sound weird to say, but of Champions of Norrath. I feel like when most people look up information about this game, they're going to be kind of uh, leaning more towards like Diablo or something, or other, like they're going to kind of go off genre a little bit. Someone in the comments actually kind of brought up, the fact that Champions of Norrath and Diablo are fairly different, and they are. That being said, both of them being isometric action RPGs, it's more like obviously like the general system is different. For one thing, Champions of Norrath has a dedicated like attack, button, whereas it seems like these days, um, the attacks are almost kind of treated more like a skill, and that's something that I'm gonna bring up when we get to a certain game on this list. Um, I've played all but like one of these games because one of them isn't even out yet. Um, and one of them I've had a little bit of experience with, not enough actual like combat, which is sort of like the real meat of the game. But yeah, this genre is kind of making a bit of a comeback. It's not completely where I'd like it to be, and I'll explain why as we go through the games. But unlike the last list, it's going to be all isometric action RPGs. There's no sort of like games that are just like high fantasy action RPGs. Um, that being said, I could always do a list of games that you can play if you want to go further along into the genre. Because I know I'm actually kind of surprised that people haven't mentioned like, oh, if you guys like Champions of Norrath, you should try a more story-driven game like Pillars of Eternity or Baldur's Gate or something like that, because those are isometric. But those are a bit different, or Divinity Original Sin. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch on this subject again, mainly just for fun and whatnot. And I kind of like sort of having this sort of conversation um, with people. I feel like it seems like a lot of people really want a Champions of Norrath 3, myself included. Again, though, like I said in the last one, I don't think it's going to happen at this point just because Snowblind Studios uh, merged into Monolith, and they made Shadow of Mordor, now Shadow of War. So, and I assume they're working on something else. Who knows? But yeah, they at the very least, it's not going to be made by the same people. That being said, I don't think it would need to be made by the exact same people necessarily, because I mean, like, Untold Legends I thought was pretty good, at least the first two. I ended up getting the other two, because I know I made that video pretty far back before I got really serious with my collecting. But yeah, still at this point, I would say the chances of a Champions of Norrath 3 are still kind of slim. At this point, I'd be okay with just a remaster, especially if it gives us the opportunity to have a Champions of Norrath 3 down the line. But like myself, and I'm sure many others who don't really want to wait too long and want to kind of get our feet wet with some of these other games. Here's a list of some other games that you might want to play if you're kind of aching for a good Champions of Norrath like experience, especially if you're looking for just if you're looking for more of the gameplay rather than the actual like experience. And again, that's going to come into play with a few of these games as we continue onward. Really, like two, or maybe even one.
Also, quick note, this video was recorded months ago, so there's probably some information that isn't entirely accurate, but I tried to keep everything current, so yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, I've played all but like one, technically two, because I didn't play enough of one of them, but all but like one or two of them, because one of them isn't even out yet. But yeah, so enough dilly dallying. Let's jump right in. This is, I guess we could call this another like 9 games to play while waiting for Champions of Norrath or whatever I end up calling it. I've been playing this video for a while, but I didn't like rehearse it like I usually do, because even though I go unscripted, I do tend to kind of rehearse my ideas a little bit. So, but I'm gonna start off with kind of a smaller one that I actually really like. I need to get myself a copy because I played the demo of it, and that's my main experience. But it's a game called Heroes of Ruin for the Nintendo 3DS, and it's made by Square Enix, and it was released in North America and Europe. So if you're a European, you can play this game. I'm pretty sure you can play all of these. I don't think any of these games are exclusive to North America, and there certainly aren't any Japanese games on this particular list. But I played the demo, and it was actually pretty fun. It's been a while, so I don't remember how they do the attack. I know I'm kind of trying to keep the whole, standard attack as a skill versus just having a standard attack thing that Champions of Norrath had in mind. Because after that one comment, it does kind of seem like there are people who are thinking like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, it's Diablo is similar, but it's not exactly the exact same thing. Still, like I said, you could almost look at Champions of North as being a Diablo clone. At least look in hindsight, because I think Diablo 2 was like the latest one, but I don't. Yeah, I almost want to say Gauntlet, but anyway, Heroes of Ruin. It's a pretty fun game. Like Champions of Norrath, the classes are race locked, and I think they're even gender locked too. I played as the lion guy. He was my dude. He's pretty fun. Obviously, since it's a 3DS game, it's not really that pretty to look at. And I didn't really play that much. And I think I remember there being some sort of like orb thing. I don't remember exactly. But you can play as four classes. I've got the Wikipedia page open just so I can kind of have all the details. But like I said, I played as the lion guy, apparently the Vindicator, or the Vindicator. He's a lion guy. Because lion character, I don't really play as too many characters besides humans or dark elves. But in the rare instance where I would have to, I'm okay with playing as a lion. Like, I know, like, one thing I actually really like doing in Champions Return to Arms is to play as the Vashir Berserker, or the Kara now. Yeah, because when EverQuest Next was being worked on, they actually renamed the Tiger people, or the Cat people, I guess, to the Kara. So I guess the Kara Berserker. Obviously, that's not reflected in the game, because it's not like they could have patched and be like, oh yeah, here's this patch for this game from like 2005 to change the title of the race. It's just one of those things where you just kind of have to know. But it's pretty fun. Again, I haven't played enough of it to gauge the middle game of it. I imagine it's not a very long game. It seemed like it was a pretty small title, something that we're like, for all I know, Square Enix probably was just like, yeah, we'll publish it, and then they just kind of moved on. Though I do like that they're actually publishing some more games outside of what you would think, like Life is Strange and whatnot. But that's a different subject. I do like this game. It's pretty bare bones in terms of content, from what I remember. It wasn't really anything to really write home about. Apparently, the general reception of this game was pretty average. So I wouldn't expect too much, but this is definitely something you can go to, especially if you have a 3DS. Like, if you're one of those people to where you aren't really big into PC gaming, because quite frankly, that's where a lot of these games kind of come from. But again, I'm coming at this from the console perspective, so I can say all the games on this list, they're not all multi-platform, but they're all coming to a console, if not already on one. With the exception of like one game that's kind of in the up in arms a little bit. But this is I actually kind of liked it. I'm going to try and get it for my collection pretty soon. It's not that expensive. I think it's like, what, like 20 or 30 bucks. It's been out a while. It came out in like 2012, so and it came out in Europe first, so I guess this was sort of a European project. I don't know if that really matters, but it does use like Street Pass and Spot Pass if you are still able to use those. But I still have the demo downloaded on my 3DS, so I guess I can play that while I wait. I don't know if they saved my character or not, but yeah, it's pretty fun. Definitely up there. For the next game on this list, it's a little more recent. Warhammer Chaosbane. I don't remember if I ever made a video about this on my channel. I know I talked about it on the podcast, but this was actually a game I was really looking forward to because I felt like, oh, well, Warhammer is a pretty established game series. This could be kind of fun. And it's available for PC, I assume Steam, PS4, and Xbox One. So, again, it's available for console, but you can also get it on PC if you're one of those types. I haven't seen too much gameplay footage because, quite frankly, there was a feature. Or I say feature, but there's something about this game that actually majorly turned me off. Because with this genre, I'm very picky. But gameplay actually seemed pretty solid. I believe they gave you three or four classes, and by classes I mean characters. Because this game actually doesn't have any character customization. You are playing as like a set character. Here's a Ruin, on the other hand, you do get to you can customize their look a little bit. It's minor, but you can customize them a little bit. So that's kind of where I meant with the whole bare bones. Where here, the most you're going to get is equipment, but you're still playing like a set character. And from what I understand, they did that mainly because the Warhammer lore is pretty tight. And that certain characters were there at certain times, which I guess that makes sense. But at the same time, with these kind of games, I really want to be able to make my own character. It's one of those things where if you really enjoy, if you're not really known as being a buff of this genre, but if you're a fan of a certain genre and you play a lot of them, you got certain things that you like in certain games. One example that I've actually heard on YouTube before was I think it was one of the Tales games was coming out. I don't remember which one. It might have been one of the Exilias, and it was a YouTube video, and he said that he was looking forward to the game, but he didn't like not being in control of his other characters. Coming from the perspective of a turn-based JRPG where you control everyone. Turn-based or not, you control everyone, even if you have to kind of take turns. And, I understand that. In this situation, I don't like not being able to make my own character, which I know that's sort of specific. I generally am a big fan of character creation, not even just as a writer where I get to make my OCs and see them oh, that's so cool. I get to see so-and-so fighting Cervantes from Soul Calibur. Oh, it's really cool that my Saiyan OC from my MySpace RP group is fighting with Goku or Sonic and Tails and all that stuff. I love that stuff, but I think with me, I find it a lot easier for me to kind of get into the world if I'm making my own character, because I feel like if I'm just playing as a set character, I'm basically just enjoying a story, which with this game in particular, Warhammer Chaosbane, it does seem like they're going for a more story-driven kind of thing where we're taking this lore and kind of putting you in it. And by you, I mean letting you experience it in video game form, not necessarily you making your own character and exploring this established world. That's from what I understand. So because of that, I was kind of turned off from the game, which is unfortunate because it actually looked really fun, and it seems to be relatively popular too. I don't know how it's doing exactly, but it seemed pretty fun. I don't think there was a beta. I don't think there was a demo, and the game is online as well. So if you want to play online with your friends, and I think there are like different modes you can do, like a boss rush, and I think there's like a hard mode or whatever, different stuff. But it seemed actually pretty fun. I might actually see if I can track down like a demo or put it on GameFly or something. It's currently out. I think it came out like a few months ago. It kind of fell under the radar for me, and I didn't see too many people talking about it. From what I understand, the Warhammer series is notorious for having really bad video games, for the most part, with the exception of the Total War series. And then also having... And then also, I think Vermintide is pretty popular. That I don't know. It's definitely a topic that's what I've heard, at least. I've seen, I think when I hear a lot of Dark Elf quotes, it seems like a lot of people are quoting Warhammer, which I find pretty interesting. But it's I think this is definitely a game you should definitely try, because it seemed like they put a lot of love and care into this game. I don't think it's perfect yet, and obviously for me, being able to make your own character would have been perfect, but they didn't do that, which makes sense. I understand, but it is what it is. So if you want to give this game a try, definitely do that. I do think it's not like your attack is not really a skill thing. It's just like you've got like your regular attack. I think it's like a set combo, because I know in Champions of Norrath you could just swing for days, and sometimes you would do a faster swing. Depending on your weapon speed, you would do really fast swings. And I noticed that if you play as the female Dark Elf, she would do like a spin attack that you could do. And it's different stuff. But this one, despite the character thing, seems to be pretty good from what I saw in gameplay footage. So it's this one, and then so I guess technically 3, technically like 3 and 2.5, because one of them I didn't play enough of it, but of course that one is in early access, and if you've been following this genre, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, this is kind of a new one. It's not necessarily the new hotness, but it might, scratch your itch if you're looking for this kind of game. Again, especially if it's more about the gameplay than like the RPG elements or the world exploring thing. And kind of going along with that, the next game on this list is a bit of an old one, but like Chaosbane, it's a little more focused on characters. That's Dungeon Siege 3. I played the demo of this one, and gameplay-wise, it actually seemed like it was pretty good. But again, not being able to make your own character was a bit of a turn-off. This is another Square Enix game, and it was released for the PC, PS3, and Xbox 360, so it's on everything of the previous generation, and I don't know if it's backwards compatible on Xbox One, and I don't believe it's what's the word, on PlayStation Now. So in terms of like backwards compatibility, Steam seems to be the only one as far as I know. It is made by Obsidian though, so that's pretty cool. They made a Knights of the Old Republic 2 and some other stuff. So that's pretty cool. It's they're now owned by Xbox Game Studios though, so I imagine any new games they make are probably going to be on there. And the reason why I mentioned that is because they've got a pretty substantial name in the genre. But yeah, from what I played of the demo back in the day, it actually plays pretty well. I don't remember it being too clean with the multiplayer. I don't even think it has multiplayer. But this one is on console, and because of that, it's a little more optimized for like a controller, which is why Dungeon Siege 1 and 2 aren't on this list, or on the previous list for that matter. Even though those games seem to be like pretty substantial choices in this genre, it's a party game, and that you have a team of people. So I guess if you're looking to get into Baldur's Gate or something, or any of the other sort of games in this genre, and sort of like the isometric RPG genre, because again we're talking about the action RPG isometric genre, which it seems like at this point it's kind of split. I'm actually thinking about giving Baldur's Gate a try, but that's neither here or there. But in regards to Dungeon Siege 1 and 2, their point and click and controller support is pretty much non-existent as far as I can tell, which is the reason why Dungeon Siege 3 is on here, which also, Dungeon Siege 3. So maybe if we all play this, our cosmic energy will flow into Sony, or really Daybreak Game Company at this point. Or no, it would have to be Sony, I think. Yeah, because Sony owns the EverQuest franchise. Just that Daybreak Game Company is the developer now. But we have to send them all our energies, and they'd be all like, Dungeon Siege 3? Shinmu 3? We gotta make Champions of Norrath 3, guys! No. That'd be funny, though. But yeah, this one's okay. But you have, like, I think 4 characters you can play as. And according to friggin' Wikipedia, it looks like there's DLC for the game. So it's I think it's an okay. It definitely has the character I'd want to play, like that knight guy on the cover. He looks pretty cool. I guess he's like just a knight or a paladin. If I can't play as a paladin, I'll usually play as a knight and be like a hard tank, because I like using a sword and slashing things. And if I can do that, then that's all I need, dog. Yeah, and I put this one on here over Throne of Agony, which is the one I have the most experience in, just because I don't know. Throne of Agony and Dungeon Siege 3 are both kind of story character based, because I remember in Throne of Agony, which I've actually talked about on the channel before, back when I would do the Gamefly thing, you couldn't really customize your character, make your own character, but you could customize the hell out of the characters. Like, I took the mage guy, who was voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, I might add, and made him into a fucking warrior. Who could shoot a fireball. So, like, the game was a little tougher than it needed to be, because I was playing as a mage and trying to make them into a warrior, but that's generally how I do. Like, if you don't fit my playstyle, I'm going to make you fit my playstyle, whether you like it or not. So I'm afraid you're just going to have to get used to that. Sorry. But the next game on my list is actually kind of a classic in this genre that I think most of you might know of, especially if you follow the game that I'm going to be talking about after this one. But it's called Titan Quest, and this one is actually, even though it's an older game, is still getting updated with new content, and it's available for PC, both pre-Steam and currently Steam, because it came out in 2006. It's also available on iOS and Android, but it's also on PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. So it's pretty much everything. And they've got a few expansions. They got Immortal Throne, which is the one that kind of came out like right after the game came out in 2007. Then Titan Quest Ragnarok in 2017, which that was sort of like the rebirth of this game, if you will. And then I think shortly after, they were all like, hey, it's coming to console. And then Titan Quest Atlantis is coming this year, 2019. So this game is still being worked on. And this is kind of like a classic PC game. Obviously, it's on console, so the controller support is there on consoles. It wasn't available on PC, but as I'm recording this, they did make a blog post saying that in one of their big updates, they're going to bring gamepad support to the PC version, which is good because I've got the PC version, and from what I understand at the moment, I think the expansions are only available on the PC version. But this is, gameplay-wise, it's pretty dang good. It's a little different than Champions of Norrath, because one thing that I've noticed, you can't really move forward while you're regularly attacking like you can in Champions of Norrath, which that's a bit of a weird thing, but you can just keep attacking for days and days. There is an actual like attack. It's a skill, and I imagine that when the control support does come out, you'll probably have to equip it on the PC version, because that's one thing that I've noticed with another game, and I actually wasn't able to play it with controller for the longest time until I figured like, oh, I had to do this. But yeah, this one, it seems to be like the classic like one that like if you've played Champions of Norrath and Diablo, you need to play this one. And I played a little bit of it. My PC at the time didn't, or my laptop rather, didn't really run it too well. But this one's pretty interesting, is that it's got like the whole Greek mythology thing. So if you're looking for something just sort of like thematically different from Champions of Norrath, but you want like the same general kind of, not necessarily a skin, but more like a different kind of game entirely, this is definitely one you should go for. And it's on consoles, and if you want to wait for if you have it on PC like me and you're waiting to kind of play it with a controller like I am, then you'll be happy to know that a controller support is coming. And the Atlantis DLC in 2019, which I didn't even know that was a thing until I looked it up today while I was because I've got the Wikipedia page open so I can have all the facts straight, But yeah, this is definitely one of the classics, and you get to customize your character. I don't think it's that expansive, but Champions of Norrath wasn't really that expansive either. Like it just had like decent choice. It's like it's not like Black Desert Online or the Elder Scrolls or whatever, or even Soul Calibur, where you've got like this really expansive, at least for the time, expansive character creation thing, which that'd be really cool if you could. Like if they ever make a Champions of Norrath 3, one thing I think would actually be kind of cool is if maybe they forego the whole race thing, and just let you pull from the or at least more than just like basic classes that like basically just like cover every sort of like type you want. Because you got the barbarian warrior, which is like your pseudo human, and then you've got your tank and like your melee warrior class, because this is the name. Then you got your wood elf ranger, which is your first elf, like your basic ass elf, and you could do ranged stuff. So if you want to like shoot bows and arrows and stuff. Then you got the high elf cleric. So if you want to be like your light elf and use light magic and heal people, you can do that. You've got your erudite wizard. So if you want to play as a non-white, I couldn't think of any other word. If I were a monetized YouTuber, I imagine this video would probably be monetized like, ugh. But if you want to play as one of those and you want to do like dark magic and like fireballs and shit, you can do that. And then you got the dark elf. So if you want your dark elf, literally your not nice elf, Shadow Knight, which is your specialty knight. Basically your melee class with just a little bit of an extra thing to it. But it'd be cool if like you could like take from all of EverQuest, because they're like the rat people, the frog people. If you want to play just a basic ass human paladin, which is what I would probably do, or if you want to play as a monk or something. This is kind of more grounded. I think you can only play as a human, but you got like all your mythological stuff. I think there's even some samurai stuff in here, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go further in the game, but you can fight monsters and stuff. It's Titan Quest. Just think like Hercules stuff and all that. But if you haven't played this one, this is definitely one you need to put your eye on. And in more the vein of Champions of Norrath, this next one actually has a lot more in common with it than one might think. It's called Grim Dawn, and it uses because Champions of Norrath used the Dark Alliance engine, from what I understand, and that was sort of like, that was one of the things that I imagined at the time. They were probably like, oh, made by the same people who made Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. But this game here, Grim Dawn, uses the same engine as Titan Quest. It's called the Path engine. Um, so this was a indie game. Currently, it's on PC only, and it's coming to Xbox One at some point. No word on if it's coming to PS4. I play the PC version. It's I guess you could say this is like the Bloodborne of this genre, from the standpoint of that it's like sort of a more gothic, Victorian era kind of thing. It's more post apocalyptic, and it's almost low key steampunk in a way. Um, but it plays pretty close, if not the exact same, as Titan Quest. This is that game I was talking about, to where it has controller support, but you have to actually equip your attack skill to like one of your buttons, which I thought was kind of dumb. It does also have a free mode, which is kind of interesting. It seems like I don't know, I couldn't really tell if I was playing like on the main story, because it seemed like they were starting me off at like some basic ass base, and then like, oh, go over here and do some quests, and do like a quest where you fight people. And I don't know if I'm just not far enough in the game, because I haven't played much of it at all. But yeah, character customization is there, but very, very minor. In fact, I don't even remember being able to customize my guy at all besides his class. He's got a wooden shield and some weird machete-looking steel sword with bolts in it. But he also has like a beef sword that I have him using just in case he wants to be beefy. But for a while, this one seemed to be the one that like people were maybe thinking about. It seems to be relatively popular. It also has DLC, particularly the Crucible mode. Then Ashes of Malmoth is coming. And then Forgotten Gods also came out. So this game is getting updated. I think it's actually officially released now. It was in early access, but they officially released it. Now I think at this point they're just kind of fixing it up and whatnot. But it's pretty fun. I don't play it that much. Quite honestly, now that I know that Titan Quest is getting Game Pass support, I might just wait for that, because I feel like that's going to be the more polished game, even though it's using the engine. But it's pretty fun. It's not bad. It's a good something to play if you're kind of looking for like especially like if you went to Dark Souls hoping for something even remotely similar to Champions of Norrath. There's some similarities, not much. The only thing it really has is just the action gameplay and the setting. And you're thinking like, well, Bloodborne's pretty cool, but I'd love to be able to play like an isometric RPG like Champions of Norrath, but set kind of like Bloodborne. Well, this is sort of what you can do here. I haven't gotten far enough to really see the entire world, so I don't know how far it goes in the Victorian era stuff. For all I know, they could just throw that out the window later on. Which, based on the Forgotten Gods title for the latest DLC, which actually came out on my birthday, March 27th, 2019. Damn. Based on that, they might maybe pull a little bit of Titan Quest, which I think makes sense, because again, they're using the engine for this. But it's pretty fun. I would almost say maybe wait for Titan Quest and then get that, and maybe kind of play these games sort of like off and on. Or if you want to go ahead and play Grim, because it has the full controller support already built in, and it apparently also has button prompts to match your controller if you have a good enough resolution for it. For some reason, my laptop's all like, no, you can't do that. But it plays well on PC with my controller, so. And it's on Steam, so if you've got like a nice computer, I imagine it probably runs super well. It's not a very taxing game, and not a very graphical looking sort of game. But the next game on this list is the one that is not been released yet, without any. In fact, we've seen very little gameplay, but in my opinion, it's got potentially the most amount of possibilities. It's called Alaloth, Champions of the Four Kingdoms. Is coming out for PC, but it's also coming to Xbox One. It's supposed to be coming in 2019. And based on the gameplay, it actually kind of looks more like Pillars of Eternity or Baldur's Gate, but it's an action RPG, um, from what I understand. Um, Now, and I think there's also a beta you can get into if I'm not mistaken. But this game I'm kind of had my eye on, not because of the name being similar, um, but it's being uh, it's being written and helmed by Chris Avallone, if I'm pronouncing that right, who worked on Champions of Norrath, and it was sort of like one of the creative leads. He was the level designer, and he also worked on the script. So story wise, I'd say he was more important than most would probably assume. He's a pretty big writer. He worked on Baldur's Gate, and he's worked on Fallout New Vegas. So if you've played that, then you know that's something. And of course, he is writing the story for this. So that was sort of what kind of caught my attention. Admittedly, he's not as involved in like the gameplay mechanic process as some other people were, but this one kind of caught my attention a little bit. My main concern is the graphics do look kind of, because of the way it's set up and how Baldur's Gate is set up, it almost looks like you can't really see your character too well. I hope there's like a zoom in thing you can do or something. Also, it seems like it's going to focus more on sort of like kingdom political warfare or something. Like, they say it's like Dark Souls meets this like one old game where like you're like almost like Mountain Blade, if that makes any sense, where it's like, you know, you're part of a kingdom and you have to like fight for your kingdom and you're trying to like make your kingdom like the biggest one in the world. I guess almost kind of like Dynasty Warriors Empires or something, just with sort of like a different kind of feel to it. You have to like join clans or one of the four kingdoms. So that I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like that's kind of strange. Um, it's I feel like it's one of those things where that plus the gameplay, I really feel like I need to kind of get my hands on it before I judge, for sure. There are screenshots you can look at, so if you want to judge the game for yourself, go ahead. You have to look it up on your own, though. I'm not going to provide any links. Sorry, but all of these games I'm pretty sure are on Steam. If you want to like look at them really quickly and like look at their specs, if you're actually planning to play it on PC. That being said, keep in mind that right now I think Titan Quest is the only one that doesn't have like built-in controller support. That and one of the other ones that I'll mention later on, but that'll actually be the next one I mention. So yeah, this one has some potential and possibilities, but I'm a little weary on it. I feel like it's one of those things where I have to kind of get it and sort of see for myself. So I can't really say whether or not you should get it, and I'll say which one I think you should probably go with near the end. But this one, I think, keep your eye on it. Like, sort of have your Coke sitting from afar being like, I wonder what you do, glug, glug, glug. But the next one is an MMO. It's called Path of Exile. This one is it's pretty popular in the MMO scene from what I can tell. So again, if you're looking for the gameplay primarily, no, this one does have character creation. It's a little weird though. You can't really customize your it's actually more like Diablo, to where like you can name your character and give them different stuff, but it's not like it's not a named character, but like it's basically just like it's more like you're playing a class rather than playing a character, which I understand that's sort of the thing for this genre. But it's available on PC via Steam as well as Xbox One, and it recently came out on PS4 in March, a day before my birthday. But yeah, I have it installed on my PS4. I don't play it hardly at all, though. I'm playing as the duelist. Though that is one thing I kind of like. Even though I'm playing as a duelist, which is supposed to be sort of like the two-sword, sort of like, I guess, sort of like quick jabs person, I can play as like a foot soldier or a paladin or a knight or whatever with a sword and shield if I want to. But it's an MMO pretty much, or it's basically an MMO of using with a Diablo kind of game style. And the only reason why I'm putting this one on here is because it seems to be it's the most easily accessible of the other ones. Like another game I had that I have downloaded on my my computer that's an MMO and all similar is Guardians of Ember, which it's okay. Your regular attacks have cooldown though, and that's that no. And I think Devilian I think is another game, and the Lineage Eternal seems to be something that I'm really kind of keeping my eye on, but that's something where you kind of have to wait on that because they haven't released anything on it yet, so I can't really say how good that is. It looks great, but basically the reason why Path of Exile is here over those games is because this one it's pretty popular. So if you're looking for like the cooperative play online, like if you played Champions of Norrath online back in the day, as difficult as that probably was, you can do that, and it's also on console. So if you wanted to play some of these PC ones, but you really want the controller like I do, you can play on console. I don't think the PC version has controller support. But since it's an MMO and since it's pretty new or new-ish, it came out in 2013, so new enough. But it's getting updated. I think they recently are doing the Legion expansion. I think you have to buy all the expansions. I'm not entirely sure. I have noticed that every time I turn on my PS4, it seems like the game has like a new update that needs to install. And I played a little bit of it earlier tonight, but it's not bad. It almost kind of reminds me a little bit of Grim Dawn and Titan Quest. So if you're looking for something like that, you can definitely go there. I do feel like it's a tad clunky. I think the Xbox One version is the version that probably has the most love and care put into it, especially considering that the PS4 version is still relatively new. It came out in March, so it's only been like several months, or more like a few months rather. But it's not bad. Again, if you're looking for more of just the gameplay and you want to have something that you can play with friends, and it's free to play too, assumingly without the expansions. I think you have to buy the expansions. I'm not sure. I don't follow this game that well. I mainly got into it because the PS4 version was announced, but it's not bad. And one of the last ones I'm going to talk, because there are two more, but this one I actually really like. And I've only played the demo, but I actually really like it. And it's a sequel. It's called Vikings Wolves of Midgard. It's another sort of like mythological game. It's set, or rather it's focused on Norse mythology, so it's almost more like the Skyrim of Champions of Norrath. We've got the Bloodborne of Champions of Norrath and Grim Dawn, and then we've got the Skyrim and Vikings Wolves of Midgard. This game is actually really fucking fun. The character customization is pretty dang decent for a game like this. You can actually do more than just change your guy's color and pick your class, and then bam, there you go. Rely on your equipment for cosmetics, but have fun getting beaten. You can customize your guy a little bit more. Graphically, it looks fun. And gameplay, it's incredibly solid. And it's got a dodge roll. So if you want a little bit more tactical gameplay, this is definitely the game for you. It's a sequel to the other Vikings game that came out on PS3, which was a action game, I believe. Open world action game. This one is according to the Wikipedia article, it's open world. When I played the demo, I didn't really get that impression. It did seem a little more. It seemed more like what you would expect, but you can have your different type of weapons. I don't remember them having specific classes. I think they might literally be doing like Dark Souls or Skyrim, to where like basically find a weapon, there you go. Which that's really fucking cool if I do say so myself. This one really freaking fun. I would definitely kind of put this one on your radar if you're in fact I might play the demo after I'm done recording this to be all like, yeah, this game's awesome. But I had a lot of fun with this one. It's for a PC, and when I say PC, I mean Steam. By Steam, I mean it's also on Linux and Mac OS. So if you don't have a PC, you can play it there. And it's also on PS4 and Xbox One. I played the PS4 version. It's been out. There isn't any DLC, but there is online multiplayer. So if you want to play this game online with your buddies, you can. According to the Wikipedia article, there's no couch co-op. I haven't even looked to see if any of the other games have. I imagine most of them probably don't. In fact, I bet Chaosbane's the only one that does. Now that I think about it, because I think most of these games at this point are made with online co-op in mind, which at this point I actually kind of like. I'm cool with it being that way. But yeah, this game, this might be one of my picks. I actually had a lot of fun playing it. I need to play it again so I can make sure that I want to buy it, because I think I do. But yeah, this one, definitely give it a try. Absolutely. Especially if you play Champions of Norrath and you're like, well, I'll play Skyrim now. So you played Skyrim and like, oh, this is cool, but I really wish this would play like Champions of Norrath. There you fucking go. Vikings, Wolves of Midgard. You have to play as a Nord, basically, but, yeah, you only play as a human, but, like, that's, like, really the only downside, I think, is that, that and also setting stuff, because, like, I would kind of prefer the high fantasy, or at least varied, where, like, you've got, like, your Norse sort of, like, Viking area, but then you've also got, like, your elf, like, medieval Europe and your samurai temples and whatnot. That'd be my ideal game, but, it is what it is. Definitely still one of my higher picks. And finally, this last one is the newest of the bunch, in that by the time this video probably goes up, the game will have been released for probably, depending on how long it takes for me to upload this, but it actually was announced to come out in February. It was in early access for a while, but, yeah. This one seems to have the most overall potential. It's called Wolfson, Lords of Mayhem. It was a Kickstarter game. It was originally called Umbra Online, I believe, but then they changed it to Wolfson. It's supposed to be an open world isometric RPG. And it's made in, I think, Unreal Engine 3, if I'm not mistaken, where the game actually kind of lags a fair amount, and that's part of the reason why I haven't really played too much of it. This is the one where it's like I've played a little bit of it, but I haven't actually gotten into combat yet. Supposedly, it works a lot better now, and I think they're apparently going to port over the game to Unreal 4 at some point. I'm not sure, but this one seems to have the most potential. I think you can only still play as human, but you have like MMO quality character creation, which that's pretty good for this genre. I think you don't see too many of these games really, because even Champions of Norrath, with it being how it is, and I still say it's overall the best one out of every other isometric action RPG I've ever played, including Return to Arms. Like, I think the only game that's really come close to it is probably Untold Legends and Vikings, Wolves of Midgard. But even that, like I just said, has some issues, plus also just personal taste things. Like, I would prefer to have, a more varied setting. So, but this one seems to have the most potential. Haven't played enough of it to really judge the combat. One thing I actually am not too keen on is that apparently at some point you get like a certain like ability or transformation that you can do based on your playstyle. Like, if you're a warrior, you get a third arm to like hack stuff. If you're like a fire magic guy, you turn to like a fire demon or something, which I'm not too big on that. I actually would prefer not to have that, because I just want to kind of play as just like some, like, I think it'd be cool to have like a transformation like dragon aspect in Skyrim, or a different kind of example, but in Xenoverse you can go Super Saiyan if you're a Saiyan, or you can go Golden if you're a Frieza person, and grow big if you're a Namekian, and turn into Kid Buu if you're a Majin, and all that stuff. But so I like having the ability to transform like that. I would almost rather just have like a fire surge mode or whatever. It'll be interesting to kind of see how this game sort of works when I actually get far enough in the game to play it. It's currently on PC. I believe it does have, and I mean only PC. It's supposed to come to Xbox One, and I think they want to bring it to PS4. I'm not sure. I know it seems like PS4, even though it's the more popular system, kind of struggles with the indie front. And I think maybe Xbox, that's sort of where they're sort of getting what they can with their genre, I guess. But Yeah, this one seems to have the most potential. Again, I didn't play enough of it to really judge its gameplay, as in the combat. But also when I did play it, and part of it might have just been my laptop because I don't have like a gaming laptop or anything. But the there was a lot of buffering and lag. No, I think it was supposed to be an MMO at first. So, but I think it's supposed to be like just like an online game, or like it has like an online feature, you know. So, like I said, it has pretty good potential. But if you're a little weary, I think it's fine to kind of wait. So, this one kind of like Alaloth, maybe watch it from afar if you want. But based on how it looks, it does actually look like it's pretty substantial. So if you want to watch it from afar, that's fine, but be a little closer. Don't be too far away that you can't refill your drink, but be close enough to where you can maybe keep your eye on it a little better. So those are the 9 games that I kind of had in mind. Obviously, none of them are like absolutely perfect. In fact, I've come to realize that Champions of Norrath might be one of my favorite PS2 games of all time. Definitely up there. Top 3 for sure. I guess my top 3 at the moment would be Tales of the Abyss, Champions of Norrath, and Soul Calibur 3. But that's just sort of how I view it at the moment. That could change, but Champions of Norrath is definitely up there. In terms of which one out of these 9 games I think you should definitely play, I still say Vikings Wolves of Midgard is definitely one that you've got to play. And Heroes of Ruin, I think I'm gonna say Wolves of Ruin. Heroes of Ruin, I think, is another good one to play, especially if you only have a 3DS, or if you have a 3DS and you're like, I just want to play something on the go. That also being said, like if you have a Switch, I'd say maybe go for Titan Quest, just because I mean Titan Quest over Grim Dawn, just because it's going to be a little more accessible, and even if you get the PC version and you wait for the gamepad support, you'll have a little more content to work with, because you've got 3 expansions in total probably by the time the controller support comes. That being said, Grim Dawn is also a pretty good choice, and if you're looking strictly for just the gameplay and like just a story over exploring a world and the Western RPG elements, if you will, Warhammer Chaosbane actually might be a good choice. You might also like Dungeon Siege 3. Really, just play all of them. But no, I would say, I'd say those were the ones that you should maybe focus on. And of course, there are some other games that I even though I listed them and I'm saying that like they're a little lower on the list, you can still give them a try. Like Path of Exile, and hell, that could maybe lead you into like Devilion or which I think Devilion shut down actually, but also like Guardians of Ember. If you can find it in Spirit Online, maybe play that if that's even running still. Or Allods Online, or whatever. Not Allods, or Tree of Savior. That's one I kind of had my eye on, but I decided, I don't know. But if you also are willing to wait for Wolfson and Alaloth, that would maybe be a good. That could be something you could do. I would say maybe look at Wolfson, because Alaloth almost looks like it's going for like a theme thing, and it's more like it happens to play like an isometric action RPG, but it's more like a focus game rather than yeah. I would say maybe Wolfson. Give it a try. I might give it another chance too, but definitely if you're looking for the number one, I still say Vikings Wolf of Midgard, or Wolves of Midgard, is the one that you definitely need to play. It doesn't play the exact same as Champions of Norrath, but I feel like it's as close as we're going to get at the moment, because truth be told, they're probably going to change it up a little bit if they actually make a real Champions of Norrath 3. They would have to use the same game engine, I think, if they wanted to make it the way we would want them to make it, and that engine might be a little dated. Plus, that would limit the graphics, I think, because aren't the graphics in the actual game engine kind of paired up or something? I don't know much about game design, but that's just my opinion. Obviously, if you just want to play Champions of Norrath, that's always the best thing to do. I'm still working through my casual second difficulty file. I actually lost because I streamed it, but the save data got corrupted, so I had to go back to an older save data that was several levels behind. I made it to Nariak, the Dark Elf Cave area, which you'll see in the stream whenever I upload that, which I need to upload that soon. The archive, that is. And I was all the way back at like the beginning of Feydark Forest area. And I'm like, holy fuck. Right now I'm at the Venerost vampire area, so I feel like if I can at least get back to where I was before the stream, that's good enough. Because again, this is a casual playthrough, so I'm not too concerned with losing progress, but it was still kind of annoying to lose progress. You know, it's just kind of a pain. But yeah, I'm gonna get myself a drink because I've been talking for a long ass time. This is almost an hour long, so sorry about that. But this is kind of more of a podcasty video, so this is definitely one of those. If you're interested in the topic and you want to hear someone else's thoughts, or if you're looking for some sort of like direction on where to go with this genre, then here you go. Obviously, I feel like Dark Souls, the gameplay kind of fits my needs a little bit more. Because there are times where I'm like, I really want to play an isometric action RPG, but at the same time, I just kind of want to play like a good fantasy action RPG, and I feel like Elden Ring might be that game. So watch my video on that if you're maybe interested, and look up some stuff about that, read about it, because that actually has some pretty interesting potential. And maybe I'll do a video kind of talking about my favorite games in those genre, if you want. My throat's starting to get all dry, so I'm gonna stop talking now and get a drink, maybe some ice cream if I find any, which I know we don't have any, so I'll have to go buy some. But anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. If you're interested in any of these games, definitely give them a try and tell me what you think in the comments. If there's a game that I just somehow missed that actually fits this criteria that I set up, let me know. Or if you want to know why I didn't include a game, you can ask me in the comments. But yeah, so happy discussion and playing. See you guys later.